Hello and welcome to the battle room. My name is Colin. Let me set the scene for you. You're Colin. You're happy. You're me. Life's good. You just top cut the UX9 Tour, so you rest. You sleep. You wake up. Boom. You're in top 16 because you got a bye, and you sit down and you play this team. This team is infamous by now. You've probably seen it. Your mother's probably seen it. Your grandma's probably seen it, and she goes, "Oh, kiddo, that's a Wolfe Glicks team," and it is. It's Wolfe Glicks team. So, going into this tour, I knew I needed to beat this team. This was the one team I knew I needed to beat. So I came prepared. So, let's talk about the matchup here. Boom, boom. I'm running Lumberry Garchomp. Lumberry Garchomp destroys this whole team, so I ran Lumberry Garchomp. Now you're probably saying, Colin, how does it beat the whole team? And I'm like, well, it dodges Will-O-Wisp because of the Lumberry. And then it also hits Coal. So that's thought process. Coco's also good versus like Urshifu and changes the terrain, so it's kind of cool. So Garchomp Coco is a must as a lead. It puts on pressure on Dragapult, Moltres, Coalossal, Urshifu, everything but basically Rillaboom. Rillaboom's the scariest lead here. It does okay versus Incineroar. It's kind of a free potential SD. But yeah, it's a really great lead overall, and I'm feeling really confident with that. I bring P2 in the back because Eerie Impulse is great against like everything. Trick Room's useful if I need it, and then it's P2. Do I need more? And then I bring Incin for Fake Out and Intimidate. So those are the leads. That's the game plan. I'm just going to set up potential SDs, maybe Max Quake a little, and go from there. That's all I got. So, surprise, surprise, we see Surprise, we see Dragapult Coalossal lead. Why can't I say the name? So this is the lead I prepped for. This is the lead I was ready for. This is what I wanted to do. So generally, when I play these type of teams, my opponents like to switch turn 1 with Coalossal. So, to counter that said play, I decided to go for Max Quake and Dazzling Gleam. So you're like, Colin, what if they like max the Coalossal? I'm like, well, they usually don't. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I locked that move almost instantly. Colin is ready to play. A couple weeks ago, Colin was ready to play. So the plan here is simple. Hit, double tap the Dragapult, get it out of here so potentially later they can't even set up. And it also is pretty safe. If they do max the Coalossal, I do get a max Quake boost, and I do still probably KO the Dragapult, do tons of damage to it. One thing you'll notice is that my opponent plays really, really weird. I basically can't get a read on my opponent for like the first 1.5 games, and it gets a little confusing, so yeah. So we're gonna see that big, fat, juicy Garchomp max. Boom. So remember, my entire plan is Garchomp here. Garchomp, Garchomp, Garchomp. So Garchomp's maxed. He's ready to go. And we're going to see a Surf. I was like blown away when my opponent did this. I was like, homie, you just raw surfing that? You did 75%. And then he does this. And he critical. He critical. That's why I did so much. But I'm like, homie, what's going on here? That's 4 times weak. The weakness policy procs, all the steam engine weakness policy, all the shenanigans that happen. Yada yada yada, and they go for Heat Wave. Garchomp avoids, which is cool. It basically doesn't mean, it means I won't get burned. And then it one-shots Coco, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, I knew it would one-shot Coco, but I was like, holy crap. My opponent's going hard, you know? Like, this is some intense stuff. Like, this guy came to play. So we do a good chunk to Dragapult, honestly. Like, that's pretty strong. We do get a special defense boost on Garchomp. The Heat Wave miss is really nice, honestly. Like, later in the game, it ends up quite mattering a lot. But, like, at the moment, it's like, whatever. It's Fire-type move into Garchomp. He resists it because he's a dragon. So, it's not too bad. I have to bring in P2 because I can't really bring in Incin. It doesn't offer any pressure, and that's a free max. So, I'm instantly in kind of a weird spot. My opponent's turn 1 ended up being really, really solid. Had I just max Quake, I would be in a good spot, but I didn't, and my opponent read me correctly. Like, they kind of styled on me, you know? Like, they gave me the respect, and boom, hit me where it hurt, you know? So now this turn is really rough. It's kind of awkward, too. So I'm going to go for Max Quake into Coal because I need to get it out of here at this point. Like, there's a chance it could max. It needs to get out of here. It's doing way too much damage, too. It's at +2, like, and +6 speed, so it's scary. So we're going to see the Coalossal max here. So now the Colossal's really huge. It's scary. Now it's going to set up the rocks. I'm going to be taking residual damage for the entire game, which is just not good. Like, that's scary. So this turn, honestly, the turn 1 was just really solid. I could have punished it and maybe been in a way better spot. Like, obviously, I could protect Max Quake. Like, there's tons of options, but my opponent just straight up got me good. No complaints there. Like, I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, this is hard to read, you know? Like, I'm feeling on edge, like a little bit confused, a little bit weirded out, and I know I need to play better if I want to have a chance to win here. So we're going to see the Max Quake KO the Coalossal. And like, this situation isn't game over yet. Like, we still have a big Garchomp. The Dragon Bolt's at 1 hit. Porygon is about to set up Trick Room here. Like, it's not over, but it's not one. That I'll tell you that. We're not in a good spot. But it's like winnable still. I just need to play almost perfectly to probably pull this one out. So I'm not truly discouraged yet. So Porygon's going to take those rocks. Garchomp is going to take the rocks. I think the max there was actually pretty solid for my opponent. The rocks are all they really need because they've already gotten 1 KO. If you do that much to Porygon while throwing on the residual damage, like, that's a good turn. So I think my opponent is playing well, but it's just really weird to me. They're not making really traditional plays, and I'm getting thrown off by the plays. It's a little awkward, a little bit. I'm definitely on the back foot, and I am really just being overwhelmed by my opponent's plays, simply put. Like, obviously, you're probably saying, Colin, you idiot, why didn't you press Max Quake into Coalossal? It's 4 times weak, and I'm like, dude, it's most likely going to switch. Usually they switch into Rillaboom 9 times out of 10, or they just, like, protect. Like, it's pretty common for them to do stuff like that. So my opponent going for that threw off my expectations and set me on the back foot right off the bat. That is, like, the theme of this battle. So now they send in Urshifu, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh my god, like, Porygon's at 23 HP, I'm at half, this is not good. So I decide here to go for Max Quake into Dragapult, and I try to recover. Obviously they are threatening Aqua Jet, which is very scary, and I know Porygon's most likely going to go down here, but if I can get off the recover, you know, it's not too bad, not too bad. I do Max Quake Urshifu actually, because Dragapult is dying to Rough Skin, so I'm actually just smarter. Okay, nice. So they go for Aqua Jet. I need to get as much damage as I can into Urshifu because it's looking like it's going to win the game. Because I do have Incineroar on the back. So this game is like almost just straight up doomed because I can't really answer Water Urshifu because I lost my Koko. Koko's pretty important in that regard. In this matchup, it's really good versus Moltres and Urshifu. So losing it on turn 1 is not good. And I'm kind of beating myself up for that one. So they drop the attack and they die to Rough Skin. So Rough Skin, you know, clutching it up, which is good. Nice job, Rough Skin. So, but I am at -2 at this point, so Garchomp is really suffering. And that was my last turn of Max. So now I'm forced to send in Incineroar, which, you know, like, if they have Rillaboom, like, maybe there's a chance. But even then, it's like, how do I get through this Urshifu? So Incineroar comes in, and then Rillaboom comes in. So I'm like, okay. It's not like over, it's just like slightly over, but I have to figure this one out because they are getting grassy terrain. They're gonna be able to hit me really hard with Rillaboom at this point, but Incineroar also can maybe win the 1v1 versus Rillaboom because I know it doesn't have high horsepower because it's just Wolf's team. So I'm pretty confident in the end game of if it becomes a 1v1, but I need to get rid of Urshifu somehow. So my game plan is to fake it out and try to stop my Tantrum. So we're gonna go for the stomping and we're gonna go for the fake out. It's really my only play, and there's not much I can do. Like, they easily could just Grassy Glide, kill Garchomp. They could fake out Incineroar and, like, Surging Strikes. They have so many options. Well, I can't really fake out Incineroar because I'm slower. Trick Room's up. So I do have that going for me. They could just Surging Strikes. They could protect. Like, there's a lot of potential plays here for my opponent. And Garchomp is also just, like, really, really low. So the fake out connects. And I get the crit, which is appreciated, and they go for fake out onto my Garchomp. So it's a safe play. They obviously trade fake outs. It's honestly quite safe from them. There's not much they really have to think about there. And the rocks are just doing the work, right? So I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be 100 here. There's a little bit of a blunder on the next turn. A little bit of a blunder. So I'm expecting right here. The way out of this game is to live, keep Garchomp alive, and kill Urshifu. So my plan here is like, well, Vocal this up. They probably just Grassy Glide, Garchomp, and Surging Strikes. So I'm going to protect to try and dodge the Grassy Glide. And then I'm just going to go for Flare Blitz into Urshifu and just hope I crit or something. Like, there's not much I can do. But the blunder here is that I should have been looking for openings for my opponent to misplay, because that's how you win games. So the misplay here is that they go for Aqua Jet onto Garchomp, which is like Colin, like, why did you protect in front of Urshifu? I'm better than you. I would have never done that. I know Unseen Fist goes through. And it's like, no, I was predicting something else. But what I should have done is just double tapped Urshifu, because I definitely would have won the game here, because I would have killed it with a stomping, and then I would have been able to win with Incineroar. So it was kind of a weird play from my opponent. They just thought it killed, which is safe. But I think I should have capitalized on my opponent's misplay as well, because obviously if I kill Urshifu here, Flare Blitz, I easily 2-KO Rillaboom and then I win the game. So it was a misplay, but I did just predict my opponent to do something completely different, because Grassy Glide is just way stronger, but they just wanted to cover for the Protect as well. So they kind of covered both, but Garchomp actually lived, so I could have punished that much harder, and obviously I didn't, so then I end up just losing the game. But that's something to learn. Sometimes you got to look for your opponent's misplays and try to abuse them, because I think I definitely had a chance to win this game. I just needed to capitalize on a potential misplay that they did there. And yeah, so that was kind of my bad, but I also don't necessarily regret the play, because I thought it was pretty likely that they ended up going for they went for the Grassy Glide. I thought that was safe, but they tried to read the Protect, and they do read it, but I lived. So I live with 3. I had a chance to just win this game outright, and I should have taken it. But ultimately, yeah, Incineroar is going to go down. It's just a matter of protecting away the Trick Room and then hitting me with Surging Strikes, so I lose. But I do think, had I punished that potential misplay there, I could have won. But I was really afraid of Grassy Glide. The knockoff was really weird to me. I didn't see it coming at all. But yeah, I should have looked for misplays. So going into game 2, I'm like, all right, game 1 went rough, but I don't think my game plan was bad. It was just like my opponent surprised me. They played a little bit unorthodoxly, and they punished me almost every single turn, honestly. I got punished almost every single turn. So I need to just reel it in, play controlled, and maybe not take as many risks. Like play a little bit differently. So that's my main focus going into game 2. So you're going to see that I lead with the same thing, because I think, again, it's the same game plan. So I don't really need to talk about team preview here. I'm doing the same thing because I'm confident I can win. I just need to play better. So we're going to see my opponent lead off with a Dragapult Coalossal once again. I mean, if it worked so well game 1, why not do it game 2? Why not do it game 2? So I'm going to try to play a little bit more conservatively this game. Like, I'm still really afraid of the Coalossal. I have to give it the respect, because when I didn't give it the respect, it honestly steamrolled me and put my opponent into such a good position. So I'm gonna max Quake Coalossal turn 1, and I'm gonna switch turn 1 into Porygon 2. It's very safe. I'm threatening the Coalossal on the KO. It's likely that Coalossal switches, but it's very safe. Porygon is really safe to switch in, so if they do go for the Heat Wave play again or anything, it covers a lot of options, is what I'm getting at here. So I want to cover as many options as possible while giving my opponent, putting the necessary amount of pressure, because I did let Coalossal just kind of walk all over me last game. So I want to put more pressure on the Coalossal, even if it means that Colossal's going to switch out and they'll just, like bring in Rillaboom, and I'll feel bad about myself for a turn. But like, it is what it is. So Coco will be withdrawn. It's Porygon 2. And so this situation isn't horrible, but like they didn't switch, or they do switch here. So Coalossal gets withdrawn into Moltres. So it's like, I'm max clicking into a Moltres. I'm like, Colin, what do you do? And then I see this, and I'm like, what the hell? That's a max Dragapult. You're maxing the Bolt? And like, this tournament's open team sheet, so I know this is Breaking Swipe, Surf, Will-O-Wisp, Light Screen. I know it's the Wolf Pult, and I'm like, what? But this is so good for me, because I'm like, okay, I blew the max Quake, but they're maxing Pult. They're not going to be able to abuse their turns as well as they would have liked. I always can threaten the switch in as well onto Coco. I mean, they could max Geyser the slot, but who cares? It's max Geyser from Pult. So this is a really good situation. Like, obviously the turn looks horrible, and my opponent is once again surprising me with plays. But the thing is that although my opponent is surprising me, I'm still in a good spot because they maxed their Dragapult. Support Dragapult max, while surprising and catches me off guard and does a ton of damage to Garchomp, doesn't win him the game outright. So this turn feels really good for me. It looks bad. Like, Colin, you max Quaked into a Moltres. How is this good for you? It's good because my opponent's wasting their max. And now I'm just sitting here with my giant Garchomp, and I'm like, okay, you see, I took a while to select my move because I was just in awe. So this is the easiest Trick Room Protect of my life. Like, it's so safe. Max Guard is safe. Even if they read it, who cares? Like, it's not a big deal. So although it looks really good from my opponent, and they really set me on the back foot, right? Like, they wasted a max turn, and they got free damage on the Garchomp. I feel really, really good because they can't max Coalossal. Coalossal isn't scary if it can't max. So this game is going well for me, although it looks like it's kind of bad. Like, the crowd goes crazy, but it's also like, hey, it's not actually doing that much to me. Like, look how much this Wormwind does to P2. Because it's based off of Breaking Swipe. It does like 50 damage, 52 damage. I don't really care or feel that bad. Like, I think my team can win if there's no maxes involved. Like, I feel confident because, like, Coalossal's all about the max. So I'm feeling really, really good here. They do the nasty plot, but I have the Eerie Impulse. I feel fine. We are at -2 attack on the Garchomp because they do call that max guard correctly, which, you know, is respectable play from my opponent, but I'm still feeling really, really good about this game. Although it looks, you know, kind of grim. Like they did outplay me pretty hard turn 1, and it doesn't look good, but I know it's good because I can navigate around this because there's no rocks, there's no Dynamax. I can just play Pokemon and be confident here. So I'm gonna withdraw Garchomp into Coco because, you know, I don't want to take another Max Wormwind, and then I'm going to Eerie Impulse the Moltres. It's pretty safe play. Coco also comes in at a really good spot because it threatens both these Pokemon. So, like, Coco is kind of a safe switch, especially if I'm spamming Eerie Impulse. Also, Moltres isn't as scary when it's not Max either. So this is, again, all because of this Max Dragon Ball. I feel more and more confident, and, you know, I can play well. I'm confident I can do this. I can do this. Colin can do this. So the Eerie Impulse connects, lowers the special attack of the Moltres, which is amazing. And then, you know, he has to Wormwind something, so it's not a big deal. They go for Fiery Wrath. Again, this is at neutral, so it's not too bad. It does more to Coco than I would have expected. That's Life Orb Moltres. It does some big damage. And then they Wormwind the Porygon, correctly reading the Coco switch. But, like, the punishment of the read isn't, like, that great because it's Porygon, you know? Like, they read it, but the damage is, like, 50 damage. It's, like, you know, 1/4, 25% from a max move. That's okay for Porygon. And the attack drops aren't mattering as much anymore. So this situation is amazing. So from here, you know, like this is super winnable. I just need to make sure I play these turns correctly and don't get flinched too much, right? Like Fiery Wrath is scary, but as long as I'm not getting flinched too much, I'm confident that Garchomp can close out the game against stuff like Urshifu or Rillaboom. They do still have the weakness policy in tech, so it is a little scary. I gotta make most use of my time, but you know, it is what it is. So I lock in a Dazzling Gleam. It hits both of them super effectively. It's relatively safe, and I go for Recover because I need as much HP back as possible on the Porygon. I also know I underspeed the Dragapult, so the Recover or the Dazzling Gleam is relatively safe. So the Fire Wrath connects, doing again a huge chunk to Coco. Like, oh my god, I'm under half, and it's, you know, I resist that, right? I don't flinch, so Dazzling Gleam connects onto both, doing huge damage honestly to both. And now Moltres is definitely in range for a Tri-Attack, and Dragapult's still in range for even a Volt Switch at this point, as long as they don't set a Blade Screen, which they do. So I probably have to Dazzle again. But this situation is fine again. Like, as long as I play Garchomp well and, you know, intimidate their Urshifu, I feel really good about this situation. Coco is taking a lot of damage, so like if it is Urshifu Coalossal, the end game could get a little spooky because they do have the potential to just Aqua Jet and potentially save the game. So I do lock in the Volt Switch Tri-Attack play. Dragapult could potentially switch here, so Volt Switch is a really good safe option, and just hoping it can KO at that point. It is a glass Dragapult, so I feel somewhat good about the calc. So Moltres protects, and again, like, as long as these Pokemon are staggered, it's not a huge deal because that means they can't proc Coalossal on the same turn, and Coalossal doesn't scare Garchomp at all, especially if it's not proc. So Volt Switch connects, does a really solid chunk, all things considered. And we go back to me, and, you know, they obviously protected, so Porygon, it's a wash turn for Porygon, but it's really not a huge deal at all. I go into Garchomp here because I need to put pressure on Coalossal. Like, since they don't have the 2 boosters next to Coalossal, these are my turns to potentially threaten it and to give myself an edge. So Garchomp comes in. He's looking so fine, ready to go. The electric disappears, but Trick Room is still up. So we have 1 turn of Trick Room left, so that is relevant. Also, Porygon is just chilling at +2 special defense. So right here, I go for Protect and Recover. Now, you're probably asking, Colin, that Moltres is alive. It's at +1. Why aren't you killing Moltres? Like, you need to kill Moltres. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want to kill Moltres here. Because if I kill Moltres here, then the Urshifu or potentially the Dragapult comes in, powers up Coalossal, and I'm sitting there mad at myself because Coalossal is now super fast and super strong. So they go for the Protect, and they try to attack me with Moltres. So my Protect on Garchomp is really good, because now I'm threatening the KO onto Coalossal next turn, which is really, really good for me, because I have Stomping Tantrum. So the Coalossal is like, oh man, I might have to get out of here. I don't know, this situation is not as awesome as it was, right? And Porygon just heals itself up, like gets back to full. This is a Life Orb +1. Fire Wrath, but I have 2 special defense boosts on Porygon, so I take it relatively well. So this is a really good turn for me. Trick Room's over. Now I'm threatening the KO on Coalossal, which is amazing. So now I'm threatening Coalossal. I feel pretty confident for going for Rock Slide. There's no way Coalossal stays in. Coalossal's their really only win con at this point. Like, everything else is really, really weak or damaged, except for maybe Urshifu. But Coalossal is one of their best ways to still win. So I go for Rock Slide to KO Moltres and also do a little bit of damage on the switch in. And then I decide ultimately to go for Recover. Porygon's HP is just super, super important, so I want to keep Porygon alive and healthy as much as possible. So I try to conserve the HP with Recover. I'm pretty sure that Coalossal is switching out. Like, it just seems so obvious. They would potentially lose the game if they didn't. And I'm just kind of going all in on this this read and this play. So I will go for Rock Slide to potentially KO Moltres as well. I want to keep Porygon safe. And yeah, so I miss Rock Slide sadly on the Dragapult, which I'm confident would have killed. Like, it's really low. Garchomp's attack stat is probably fine. Maybe would have lived with 1. Who knows? But, you know, we missed the KO, which does suck. Like, it's pretty unfortunate, you know, like the free damage there onto Dragapult and also just the threat of KOing it would be really nice. But Porygon is still at full HP, so potentially Eerie Impulse can still save the game. So they bring in Urshifu here. So we finally realize what their last Pokemon was, and it is Urshifu. So this game is looking, you know, still pretty good for me. Coalossal's not here. It's not getting powered up, which again is really the only like big thing I'm afraid of. And also keeping my Pokemon alive is just really, really important. I still have a huge Mon advantage. And I think this all still is stemming from the max Dragapult. Like, since Coalossal didn't max, I'm not taking the chip. I'm playing, you know, Garchomp's just chilling. We kind of canceled out their max. Only took, like, technically half damage on the Garchomp with it. So the max was really, really good for me, the turn 1. So right here, I'm going to switch out Garchomp into Incineroar. At this point, intimidating them is really, really important. And I'm going to go for Trick Room because... I'm actually going to go for Tri-Attack, sorry, onto Urshifu, because Urshifu is really the only big threat to Garchomp, and I remove Urshifu, I win the game. That's all I need to do. Remove Urshifu, win the game. Because Garchomp wins really hard versus Coalossal. So I'm trying to save Garchomp for Coalossal. And this is, I mean, honestly, if I'm going to bring an Incin, like, intimidating the Urshifu is like one of the most important things I could do. So they actually go for Wisp onto Porygon just for that residual damage, because Porygon is kind of a menace as of right now. And they're going to go for Surging Strikes. So, if you haven't seen my team report, please go check it out. It's flames. The reason that I ran Citrus Berry and Incineroar was for this calc right here. This matchup is a little bit clunky and a little bit awkward, but if Incineroar can live the Surging Strikes, it changes it quite a bit. So Citrus Berry Incin is specifically designed for Water Urshifu. So we live, we're happy, we're chilling, Incin's chilling, and now I'm feeling so good. Tri-Attack connects onto Urshifu, dealing almost half, which is amazing for me. And now I have Fake Out Pressure. This turn was actually so good just because I'm running Citrus Berry Incin. Like, Citrus Berry Incin is only for Urshifu. I think the other berries are better, but when you can live a Surging Strike, sometimes it's all worth it at the end of the day. So we live the Surging Strikes, and now this is the easiest Fake Out Trick Room of my life. There's not much they can do to super punish me here. I can spam Eerie Impulses. It's so much harder for them to win the game now that Trick Room is up. So I press Fake Out Trick Room. They switch into Coalossal, which is, that's fine by me. I don't really care. They go for Breaking Swipe, which, you know, it grabs Incin. Unfortunately, it picks up the KO. Pouring out for Incin, but it did its job. It put the pressure of Fake Out, it intimidated, it lived the Surging Strikes. So Incineroar, while it doesn't seem like it was the most useful Pokemon, it did exactly what it needed to do in this endgame situation. So now, I have to go into Garchomp. I think Garchomp is the best Mon here. It threatens the KO onto both Pokemon. And I also still have Eerie Impulse, so I have that going for me as well. I can just weaken the Coalossal. And Coalossal, the moveset for this one is Heat Wave, Solar Beam, Meteor Beam, Protect. So, like, the damage it's doing to me is like so irrelevant that I just can ignore it and just press Eerie Impulse. Just, you know, I don't want to take too much damage from Heat Wave, right? But this situation is really good for me. I'm also just threatening the KO on a Dragapult, and it doesn't have Protect, so either this thing has to take Stomping Tantrum or Urshifu does. So this is just great positioning for Garchomp, just because, again, Coalossal doesn't do anything to it, so it's not a huge deal. So Eerie Impulse comes out, weakens Coalossal, which again is also pretty big just because if we weaken Coalossal, like Porygon can beat Coalossal in the 1v1 like pretty easily. So they actually go for Solar Beam here, which, you know, at this point there's not much they can do anyways, so Solar Beam makes sense. We grab Stomping Tantrum into Dragapult goes down. So this is a really, really good spot, because I think Porygon can win the 1v1 versus Coalossal anyways. Like, we just Eerie Impulse them to death. It's not a huge deal. Like, I can recover. Like, Porygon is just honestly in a really, really amazing spot as long as Urshifu's dead. So Urshifu comes in, Surging Strike style, ready to blow away the competition. So I decided to switch Garchomp into Koko because I can't protect versus Urshifu, so there's no point in trying to conserve him there. And I know this Solar Beam is coming, so I'd rather just like not die. But they end up canceling the battle anyways, so we take game 2. So I'm feeling really good here. I got a much better read on them, but also they maxed their Dragapult turn 1, which, while surprising, and it did do pretty well in the first couple turns, I felt really confident for the rest of the game, and I knew if I played this slow, steady tempo, that my team would ultimately triumph over theirs, because Coalossal is a big part of their team, and when it doesn't max, it feels you can be pretty confident, you know, like, especially like either Coalossal or, you know, Moltres. Those are the best options. So I'm feeling pretty confident going into game 3. I do know all I have to do is close this out, and I know my matchup's good. I just need to play to it, play my Garchomp confidently. I think Garchomps are really, really important. And yeah, so I just need to do that. So going into game 3, team preview, I approached team preview a little bit differently this time. So for the first 2 games, they didn't bring Incineroar. So if you take away Incineroar, like cover it up in team preview, Glastrier destroys almost the whole team, like pretty reliably in Trick Room. So I was like, okay, if they're not going to bring Incin, which I don't think they're going to change this game, like I don't know why you would. I think Urshifu, Coalossal, Dragapult, and Moltres were pretty good, and, you know, they brought Rillaboom in game 1. I felt pretty confident in actually trying a new mode, a Glastrier. Glastrier looks really, really good here. It's not threatened too much by anything, especially in Trick Room. It can just win the game. And maxing Glass is just like good. I don't even have to max it, to be honest. It can just sweep in Trick Room in the late game, because Incineroar was doing well, but it wasn't like actually hard winning the late game. It did win me the game, I believe, in game 2, but I think it's glass time, baby. I think it's glass time. So my game plan gets shaken up quite a bit here. I always have to lead with Garchomp because I need that immediate pressure onto Coalossal. If I don't lead Garchomp, Coalossal becomes really scary and really awkward. So I decided to lead with Garchomp. And I decided to lead Glass alongside Garchomp because, you know, like, I potentially can threaten KOs onto Moltres. I can do big damage to Rillaboom. Maxing Glass could just be good as well. It's a really good option, especially if they don't lead Dragapult to Wisp me. I have to bring Porygon. I think it's amazing. And then I do think Koko is a good last mon just because it is good versus the Urshifu and the Dragapult and Moltres. So like Koko is a good bring here, even though Koko didn't perform as well in games in any of the games yet. It didn't do too much. So my opponent hits us with the spicy lead of Moltres Dragapult, which is a little bit different than the last game, and I lead with Glastrier Garchomp. So Garchomp is still feeling really, really good, but I don't really want to let Glass get burned here. Like, that's not ideal, honestly. This game is really interesting. Like, let me tell you, this game's really weird in how it ends up being played out. So this lead is not horrible for me, but it's not, you know, not like super good because I do have to switch out, but Garchomp does allow itself to freely start stacking boosts, which is really nice, especially on Porygon 2. Like, if Porygon 2 gets special defense boosts against this team, and as long as I threaten Urshifu, I can just leave Porygon out there for, like, you could say the whole game, honestly. Like, I could just leave Porygon Garchomp out forever if they never can respond to them because of the boosts. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. The switch into Porygon is safe because I'm probably going to get Wisped, right? That's pretty obvious. The Wisp turn 1. They're not going to Wisp Garchomp because it is open team sheet. They do know I'm Lumberry. That's why you'll never see the Wisp. Open team sheet is a blessing and a curse here because normally they would waste turns Wisping Garchomp, but they never will try because they know I'm Lumberry. So it's useful because if they were to go for Wisp right here on the Garchomp, they would be able to go for it next turn, and that might not put me in as good of a spot. So I will max Garchomp here. He's getting big. He's getting ready to roar. And we are going to see the max Moltres as well. So seeing the Moltres max feels pretty good, honestly, because that means they're not maxing Coalossal, which was the main reason why I struggled in game 1. They've maxed a different one every game. I've stuck to the game plan. Garchomp all day, all night, baby. It's so good. So good. So Moltres is going to max, but Garchomp's faster than Moltres anyway. So we're going to pad the hit no matter which one they hit. with the max Quake here. Like Porygon or Garchomp will take this max Airstream or max Darkness relatively well. They do Wisp Porygon, which, you know, that damage will start to add up if Porygon were to, you know, sit on the field all game. It wouldn't be as good, but we do half damage to Dragon Bolt. So now Dragon Bolt dies next turn, which is amazing. They don't have any ground resist except for Moltres and Rillaboom, which Moltres is in. So it's kind of likely that Urshifu and Cole are in the back, which means they don't have a ground resist. So I get to either kill Dragon Bolt or I get to do half to Urshifu, you know? So this is like a good situation for me. I'm feeling relatively confident because once again, they're maxing Moltres, they're not maxing Cole. So this is looking good. So this turn is pretty, I think, pretty easy. I want to, again, max Quake that Dragon Bolt slot because it's likely, again, that they didn't bring Rillaboom because Moltres is here. So it's a really safe play. Something has to take this max Quake. And then I'm going to press Trick Room because they Airstreamed it up. I'm going to Trick Room. I got to go fast, you know? I guess the opposite of fast in this case. I got to go slow. And they're Airstreaming, so it makes sense. Trick Room is good here. So the breaking swipe comes through, doing, you know, a solid chunk to Garchomp while lowering my attack. Again, they don't really want to switch because, you know, they're going to take too much damage onto a free potential switch in. The max Quake is really safe here. They go for max Dark into Porygon. You know, they got to start getting the damage on the Duck somehow. You know, they don't want the Duck to live forever. The Duck is such a pain, so max Dark makes sense. And they also lower my special defense, so it does knock me down to neutral. I will set ourselves up to +1 again, so, you know, we're chilling. Duck and Garchomp and I are all at +1. We're happy, we're chilling. And Trick Room is going to go up, so that's good for me, especially because I did bring Glastrier. So Glastrier is really important in the end game just because it can sweep almost everything in Trick Room, unless they brought Incineroar, which, again, I'm hard calling that they don't bring Incineroar, because Glastrier is not nearly as good of a bring if they bring Incineroar. So they do have Incineroar, so Incineroar comes in. And I'm like, okay. They brought Incineroar, so Glastrier is a little bit weaker, but in the situation we're currently in, I'm chilling, you know? I can freely max Quake Incineroar, feel no regret, and recover. Like, I'll probably get faked out in max Dark, but I still get another special defense boost, and I'm acting before the Moltres this time because I set up Trick Room, so I'll pad the damage even more. So this is just a good spot, even though my arch nemesis Incineroar here is here. So we get this free recover. They actually don't go for the parting shot there, or they don't go for the fake out, they go for the parting shot instead. So it was a good play by them, but again, something is gonna have to take this max Quake. At this point, I'm expecting, like, I assume Urshifu, like, I don't think you bring Incineroar Coalossal in the back. That seems kind of weird. And it is Urshifu, so it's kind of a whole different game plan for my opponent. They just didn't think Coalossal was as strong because I was so adamant on my Garchomp mode. So Garchomp will max Quake Urshifu, which is good damage, honestly, like pretty solid. Because now at this point, I'm feeling pretty confident that, like, Porygon 2 could easily win this. I just need to get around Urshifu. And I also have a Glass and a full HP Koko in the back. I haven't had to switch yet. I have 2 full HP Pokemon in the back. So, all things considered, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. I will end permanently at +1 special defense onto Porygon, so that's really good. Garchomp will also be +1 because they did max Darkness twice, but one of those was an Airstream, so that's pretty good. All they need to do is navigate around Urshifu and Glass Koko. Can easily take this game. The situation looks quite amazing for me. So we do get small, so it's back to regular Pokemon, and we do check the Trick Room turns, 3 more turns, so that's not the greatest, but it's not too bad, because they didn't parting shot P2, so P2 can do a number to Urshifu. So this turn is a little bit awkward, though, because there's like this weird sandwich. Porygon goes before Urshifu, Urshifu goes before Garchomp, Garchomp goes before Moltres. So, like, the speeds are a little bit awkward, just because of the Airstream boost. So I'm going to go for Rock Slide here. The flinch chance on the Moltres is nice, while also doing pretty good damage. And then I'm going to try attack Urshifu as well. I need to do as much damage to Urshifu as possible. I want to get this thing out of here. So they actually just go for the double check. They stole my Trick Room turns. Like, that's it. They're stalling the Trick Room turns. It's a safe play. At the end of the day, like, stalling a Trick Room turns, like, on a guaranteed turn when there's no max is really nice. But it does mean next turn I'm freely allowed to attack and do basically whatever I want. And these Pokemon are still just sitting here. I haven't had to switch, and I KO'd one of their Pokemon already. So I'm still in a good spot. Coco still can go nutty against almost everything. So I'm feeling confident. There's no cold this game. So I'm going to run it back with another Rock Slide, just because I am slower than Moltres, and getting damage on a Moltres is nice. So the Rock Slide seems like the safest play. Even though we know Incineroar is coming in, it still will do damage to both, so Rock Slide does feel pretty good. And then I will just go for Tri Attack onto Urshifu as well in case they don't switch. If they do switch, I do get free damage onto Incineroar. So like it's a win-win for me no matter what. So Incineroar comes in, and it gets another Intimidate. So at this point, Garchomp is at -3 because they have intimidated us with Moltres, or with Incineroar twice, and then also Breaking Swipe with Dragon Bolt. So I'm like a little bit weaker than normal, but it's not a huge deal. Also, Rock Slide is relatively safe because I do know that they can go. They can't. They don't have weakness policy, so it's a safe play. I actually do freeze Incineroar here, and this matters actually quite a bit because they can't fake out anymore, and they're forced into going for Flare Blitz. They can't Parting Shot, they can't fake out, so this is a really free Swords Dance Eerie Impulse because, they're frozen, they can't fake me out. They have to go for Flare Blitz, which is just like a bad move. They try to fake out, which, it's really rough because I did get the freeze, and so I don't blame them for trying to go for the move, but I think they should have Flare Blitz to try it. It's an automatic Dethaw, and I know they have it. And so I think they should have went for it, but they do try to go for the fake out. I think it's still okay. It's an okay situation for them, but I also think it's really great for me. So we Eerie Impulsed all the boosts of the Nasty Plot there. So I also still have a Coco in the back, so like it's not a horrible situation. But the freeze is beneficial, especially for this turn, or for the turn previous and this turn. It's just really, really good. So I will go for Swords Dance again because I want to get strong. Garchomp's at -3, now it's at -1. So I need more Swords Dance if I want to be useful, I really need to get strong. And I'm going to reset up Trick Room because I have Glass Stray in the back, right? This situation is... Oh, also they have Taunt. So the freeze matters quite a bit on this turn as well because they could just go for Taunt here. That's why I think the Flare Blitz on the last turn was probably better and then go for the Taunt this turn, the guaranteed. But they try to go for Taunt or Parting Shot, and they're still frozen, so we get up the Trick Room completely free. I think it was a little bit of a misplay, but like I don't blame my opponent. I know how frustrating freezes can be, and so I got lucky there. I really did. So I do get that boost on a Garchomp, so now I'm just going to go for a free Rock Slide and a free Recover. I need Porygon to stay as healthy as possible. At this point, Garchomp is at +1 attack, so Garchomp isn't messing around. It actually has gotten rid of all the negative boosts, and we're still slower than Moltres. So Moltres will go for Protect, which is fine. And Porygon will recover. So we're trying to get our HP back because Porygon is probably the most important Pokemon on the field right now. It's the reason I'm winning this game, and they're, it's chilling. So Instant does thaw out here and go for Parting Shot into Garchomp. So now I'm back to neutral. I worked so hard for all those boosts, but now we're at neutral with Garchomp. So I tried my best. I tried to get rid of them with the SDs. But I still think I'm in an amazing position. I still have a full HP Coco and Glass in the back. I'm just chilling. I'm waiting for them to come in. I don't want to switch either in because, you don't want to risk taking big damage onto them. So I'm just like, please kill Garchomp. Garchomp has like done its job. Like, kill this guy. He's just sitting on the field. Put him out of his misery. So right here, I'm going to go for Rock Slide once again. There's not much I can do. And it's just like residual chip and also potential flinch chances. You can see I'm actually debating whether to go for Rock Slide, but ultimately I do press that button, and then actually I go for Stomping Tantrum. Wow. Alright, I Stomping Tantrum and I double tap the Urshifu. What's really nice here as well is if Urshifu decides to go for Surging Strikes into Garchomp, it does put me into a good position because it will take roughly 2 Rough Skins, which means Tri Attack will KO. So attacking with Garchomp is safe even though Urshifu is slower. Tri Attack connects. Does really good damage, dude. Tri Attack's nuts. It actually probably lives Surging Strikes if it were to hit Garchomp, but again, I still have Coco and I still have Glastrier in the back. They don't want to give me a free switch in either of them, which is fine by me. I'm just doing free residual damage, like just casual damage with Garchomp the entire game. So Stomping Tantrum connects into Urshifu, and Urshifu lives with 1 HP, which sucks, but it also means that if it ever hits Garchomp, Rough Skin will kill it. And then Coco just wins the game. At this point, Coco has already won. Coco can't really lose the game anymore, just because everything is so low. These two stood on the field, by the way, for the entire game. I switched Porygon in turn 2, and I haven't switched. I just sat there and just kept going forward. I just never stopped walking forward. Like, I just... Trick Room, attack. It was like a really... It seems really dumb, right? But I just never wanted to free switch because I know my two Pokemon in the back. I have a free checkmate on these Pokemon. Like, they can easily win the game on their own terms. I just need to let them get in that position. And switching them doesn't let me do that. So I went for Recover because, again, I just need to keep the duck alive. That's it. Like, if they ever CC, then Garchomp will kill their Shifu anyways. And I want these Pokemon to come in. I really do. So they go for Taunts. They're going to stop my Recover. And then I go for Stomping Tantrum because all I need to do is kill her Shifu. And Tapu Koko wins the game. So that's all I have to do. But I just never got to bring in the two sweepers. Like, I really never did. And so I just, like, you know, just freely just sat there with P2 and Garchomp. The freeze was fortunate. Obviously, it helped a little bit because I never had to switch. But it also is one of those things that, like, I had two full HP Pokemon. I felt confident in winning this game ever since really turn 1. Like, once I got rid of Dragapult, and, like, I've just been in such a good spot basically the entire game with Porygon. Like, they didn't bring Porygon answers. They had Urshifu, but Porygon in Trick Room is really gross versus Urshifu. So they switched in Moltres here, grabbed the Berserk proc, which is fine. But now it's even in Dazzling Gleam range. Everything is almost in Dazzling Gleam range for me that I just can win the game, like, outright. Like, I'm almost at a point of, like, Dazzle to win. Rock Slide connects onto both. Like, Dazzle Stomping Tantrum just kills every Pokemon now. So Koko has almost officially won the game. It's just a matter, again, not giving that free switch. Because if I switch into Koko and I take a Flare Blitz, like, and they crit me, I might lose, you know? So I never want to give my opponent that opportunity. So Trick Room ends. And now I just freely Rock Slide. Like, it kills Moltres. It might come close to killing her Shifu. And it might flinch him. Who knows? So I always have that chance. And then I'll try attack Instant because I think it's kind of likely that it potentially switches into her Shifu. So Rock Slide connects. Moltres dies. And then that's just GG. Like, Koko has already won. But now it's just even easier because Instant can't really kill me. So then they Parting Shot Garchomp as well. So this covered for the Urshifu. So I'm going to grab the KO onto Urshifu and grab the game. This set was really close, honestly. Like, I felt way more confident in this matchup. But I think Game 3 showed more of my control over the matchup. Whereas Game 1, my opponent styled on me, predicted me almost every turn. It just destroyed me. Game 2, I think the max kind of gave me a huge advantage because their max wasn't as optimal as Coalossal. So it was a little bit harder, and I was playing a little bit from the back foot, but confidently was ahead most of the game because I had strong Pokemon, and Garchomp's really good versus Coalossal. And then in Game 3, I just felt really in control the whole game. Like, Garchomp and Porygon never switched. This is almost, I think my opponent ends up forfeiting, so it's a 4-1. The freeze was fortunate, but I do think that, you know, even without it, I was pretty in control just because Koko was ready to play the entire game. And I never got to use Koko, even though it was so good against all these Pokemon. But yeah, I thought it was a really good matchup, and to showcase, you know, how to beat Wolfe's team. It can be annoying. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something from, you know, how to beat Wolfe's team and how I approach this matchup. And, you know, sometimes you don't have to rely on the most orthodox things. Like, Garchomp's kind of weird. It's not as good, but it is very good versus Cole. So it fit naturally into my team, and it gave me a good Cole matchup. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Also, like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. I'll see you guys later.